We first kind of really made an impact, I guess, when we'd had several releases on Night Force as Force and Evolution. I was going around to Forces where our studio was, and we were sort of making more music during the week at that point. My sort of DJ name at the time, because I was getting the odd set, was just DJ Styles. He was obviously Force. We started making music together and then became Force and Styles. And in that time, we just had a bit of a run because we made, our first tunes were Wonderland, I think, and then it wasn't long before we made Pretty Green Eyes, Heart of Gold, Paradise and Dreams, Pacific Sun. So it was at that point that things started to progress. And then we were headlining sort of Dreamscape, Helter, Skelter and those sort of places.
Yes, Helter Skelter. Right about now, stepping up inside the main arena, Charlie B, Force and Styles.
Sometimes you can be sent some music, or I can make something on here and not really be that impressed by it. And it's not until I've played it out and then you see a completely different reaction. Because ultimately, the real tastemakers are the kids that are on the dance floor. They don't even know they're tastemakers, but they're the tastemakers. We give them the music. They call the DJ the tastemaker, but I would say it's actually the ravers, because you can, especially these days, you can tell straight away if you got something, because as soon as the hands go in the air, or if the camera phones go up because they want to capture that moment, that's when you know you've got something. I played in Western Supermare, and I've just done a new festival edit of Pretty Green Eyes, which is one of the early tunes that I was talking about from Force and Styles. And as I was playing it, came down to the breakdown, filtered it out, all the kids were singing along, and someone shouted out, "That's not even your song," right? And it's sort of like, it threw me a little bit, but then fortunately there was an MC on there, and he goes, "He's the original creator," because obviously it was a song that I'd written in 1996, but she thought it was the song because it had been covered. When it was covered in 2002, it went to number 2 in the charts. Ultrabeat covered it. So most people think it's an Ultrabeat record, but actually it was Force and Styles from 96. They just did a cover version. But it was brilliant because I posted a little bit online and everyone's going in saying, "You don't know your history, it's Force and Styles tune." So yeah, that was funny. I saw Pinna Acoustics come up, searched for them on Instagram, had a little look, slipped into his DMs and just was like, "Look, I'm after a new studio. Could you, point me in the right direction?" I knew they were based in Holland at that point, so I wasn't sure if it was even going to be possible. He sent me over loads of different designs on the color scheme and the lights and everything. And and this is what he designed, and I just could not be happier. The sound in here is phenomenal. Obviously, there's a funny story actually about the PMCs because they weren't on my radar. And he said, "If you're having a studio like this, you need some PMCs." So he was the one who cemented that for me. And up until that point, I'd never actually even listened to them or demoed them. So I was going off of his word. He had already obviously designed so many other studios. There was another guy called Brennan Hart from the hardstyle scene. I spoke to him, Code Black. They were like, "Bro, you need to get those speakers." So hence why they're in the room. And they're the best speakers I've ever had. There's no doubt about it. And the room just sounds phenomenal. Like I said before, come in after the weekend, sit down, and it's like a breath of fresh air coming in this room. It's like my little sanctuary, apart from when the dog knocks at the door. And then the kids come in and they want dinner or breakfast or lunch. But yeah, I couldn't be happy with this room. When we were building the shell, they just needed the dimensions. And then they turned up with a truck outside, all of the gear, and they were in and out within, I think it was a day and a half. And then it was literally, and that was it. And then, which was phenomenal in itself. And then Yella sat me down exactly where I am now, in front of the speakers, and he demoed the speakers for me, and he put on Michael Jackson's Thriller, Skrillex Rumble, all of these different styles of music. And I said to him at the time, I actually felt quite emotional because I felt like I'd got to that point in the career where I've actually got an end game studio, as opposed to just chucking anything in a box room or anything like that and trying to make music. So it was a special moment for me, to be honest. And in this room as well, you can be so meticulous with these speakers. You don't need to crank them up. You can have them on light volume and just get in there and EQ exactly where you want. You can hear everything. So yeah, I just couldn't be happier with this.